This programme is brought to you by UCKG.
Hello and welcome to another fabulous episode of A Different Kind of Woman. In our opinion, a different kind of woman is aware of her imperfections and is working every day to become a better version of herself. Now, are children being influenced to grow up too fast? Do they get to enjoy their childhood? How can we let children be children and how can we stop the exploitation? On today's show, Letting Children Be Children, we'll be discussing all of this and more. Let's take a look at what's coming up. Next, we're going to be discussing how children are affected by the media. They called her a leggy beauty. I mean, she's 8. Mm-hmm. What do you think about them using that term for an 8-year-old?
Yeah, no, very inappropriate.
It's very big. At 4:15, find out what the people on the streets of London think.
Have to be sexy to be liked. They have to...
At 4:25, see Kim and her children enjoying go-karting. And later, we'll be joined in the studio by Leonie Gasper from the Children's Society.
Yeah, I think it's really important that parents have that discussion with the child and they have a space that the child knows that they can talk to the parents about any problem.
So joining me on the show today is the determined Diane.
Hi. It took her a while to figure out who she was.
The motivated Motti.
I like that one.
And the gigantic Gemma. There's nothing for you, actually. The ever so graceful Gemma.
Gigantic. I've gained a bit of weight, Melissa, but come on.
Gigantic.
I know, isn't it?
I went straight for the heart.
Isn't it?
Gigantic personality, baby.
There we go. So, ladies, were you able to enjoy your childhood?
Yeah, definitely. When I think about my childhood, also because my sisters are only about like 2 years apart. Actually, me and my second sister is like a year apart, and then they're 2 years apart. We were so close. I just remember us doing everything together, like baking, going to the park, going out with my mum. Like my mum was really dedicated, so I felt like I had a great childhood.
Yeah, mine lasted quite longer than the usual. The usual childhood lasts. I was very overly protective. My mom was overly protective, so I really enjoyed my childhood.
Is that because you're an only child?
No, I'm not. I have an older brother, but age difference between us is so huge that it actually felt like I was the only child. Because by the time I was growing up, he was already almost a teenager and then out of the house. So yeah, it felt like I was the only child. But yeah, I think my mom just was very she has an overprotective nature. She was that way with my brother as well. And so she would keep me at home. I wouldn't go out to play with kids. She'd invite the kids to come to my house, and then I played with dolls until an embarrassing age.
That big,
18, I think
I was not that bad. But I think I was like 13 and still playing with my dolls.
Okay.
I mean, the only entertainment that I had was like watching music videos, watching TV, watching tennis, which was what she liked. Right. So I kind of actually embraced even her tastes of what to do at home. Wow. Yeah, so I had a very, very long childhood.
I think for us, when you say your mum wouldn't let you go out with, play with the kids, my mum was very much like that as well. She wouldn't let us go out and play with the other kids in the neighbourhood. Only when we were at my grand, she'd let us play with a few of the kids. She'd select the ones that we could play with. But then again, because I had like close siblings, we just kind of played with each other indoors. And then my mum did also spend a lot of time taking us to, to the zoo, to Disney on Ice, and just different, things that are still memorable now as we're adults. So I think I had a pretty nice childhood, I'd say. Of course, there were little traumas here and there, but the good overcomes the bad.
Mine wasn't bad. So I can't complain about mine. Mine was okay up until a certain age, but that's for the next segment.
Yes, I know your story, Diane. That's a whole other show.
Yeah.
Okay, well, campaigners of the Let Our Kids Be Kids group claim new tests for 6 and 7-year-olds are putting pressure on children who are being asked age-inappropriate questions on English and maths tests. An online petition has attracted more than 40,000 signatures. Parents took their children for a picnic rather than to the school on the day of the SATs.
Wow.
I actually want to talk about this. What do you think of this campaign? And do you think that the SATs puts too much pressure on children? I've got an opinion about this.
I thought having a picnic was great. I thought less stress. I just think these children have so much stress. If you compare their lives now to the way we were, they got so much stress and so much responsibilities that they have to take on these days. It's just like, what is going on?
Yeah, you know, I obviously, because I run a business that's to do with a lot to do with working with children and after-school clubs. I sometimes get parents that, oh, you know, my child can't come this week because they've got to revise for the SATs, and I do think at primary age, it's my personal opinion that I do feel like the SATs is a lot of pressure for children. And I remember having to take it. Obviously, you take them, I think you take the ones in primary and you take the ones in secondary school. And I get the secondary school ones because you need to kind of see what level you're at. But I feel like having those kind of tests at such a young age, it does put quite a lot of pressure on children, and you kind of are hard on yourself, like, I've got to get the level or else I'm not going to be, you know, I'm going to be seen or looked at as if I'm not clever, I'm not smart. And
I don't think that they shouldn't be see where their academic stage is at, but I don't think it should be done in such a stressful way. They should have a little bit of fun doing it while they're in their primary school.
Yeah, see, the thing is, you know, I'm going to have to take a different opinion here. I just feel that, you know, life's full of tests and exams and you just need to start young and just get on with it, really. Because I remember when I was doing my SATs, because I'm still quite young.
Tough love there.
Because I'm still quite young, and the SATs was just the other day. So I remember those. And yeah, it was a lot of pressure, like having to revise and so on. I remember even revising for my GCSEs, like waking up at 5 o'clock in the morning and so on, because I put that pressure on myself because I wanted to do well. But I just feel that it kind of sets you up. I think we should listen to what the parents are saying. 40,000 signatures is no joke. So maybe some things can be amended, but to take away the test, I wouldn't say that. Just because you have to go through so many different stages in your life where you need to learn how to be disciplined, you need to learn how to sort of pull back on the fun a little bit and to apply yourself. You know, this is just one test. So in my mind, I just think if you're going to study for a week and then do your test and then it's kind of over, you can have your fun. But I think throughout the academic year.
I think the beef here isn't that children are having to take SATs. From what I understand is that they're being asked age inappropriate questions during their testing. Well, I'm not familiar with the British system of education because I grew up in South Africa, but we were tested like every year. So every year we had an examination that determined whether or not you proceed to the next year. So if you didn't do well in your first, like if you didn't do well in your end of the year exam and it was you kind of failed, so you wouldn't be able to proceed to the next year. You would have to repeat that year again. And I think for me it's not a bad thing, because like you said, most of the behavior that we carry out through our lives, we have to learn it, and it's better when you learn it, when you grow into it, instead of having to teach yourself something when you're much older. It's harder to learn things when you're much older. It's easier to learn when you're young. So I think if we kind of take into consideration the age and how the examinations are set out and that they're set out appropriately for that age, I think it's not a bad thing to teach a child that they have to be responsible.
Right, agree. Yeah.
Okay, well, I'd actually like to talk about children growing up too quickly in general. I mean, do you think that children are, growing up too fast, just generally?
Yeah, definitely. I think that there is like this over-sexualization of children. Sometimes I have even an issue, and I'm not a parent, but I sometimes see children, like when I'm out and about, and they've got like lipstick on or makeup, and I know you think it's fun, because I used to do that. I used to go to my grandma's wardrobe, but I'd never go out with it, and my mum certainly wouldn't approve of that. And sometimes I see them with they've got their nails done, and it's like really like mini skirts or like little hot pants for children, and you think, oh, it's cute, but then it's kind of like if they're going to grow into that, and they're looking at people like who are like Rihanna and Beyonce and so on, that is kind of like their role model. I do get a little bit scared about it because the world that we live in, there's some dangerous people out there, and you know, we may look at it and be, oh, they're so cute, but someone else may not. And I just don't like the idea of it all.
I have to agree with Gemma. It's horrifying for me to see how the kids are, how they dress. I mean, as I said, they're so mature now. You know, they're really mature now, and the way that they have to adapt to certain things, and they feel that they have to have certain clothes and, you know, keep up with certain things at such a small age. It's to me, it's terrifying.
It is. I just want to touch on you know, for example, celebrity children. Obviously, they're kind of thrust into the spotlight, and sometimes that can be, you know, very negative for them. And at times, I think they've even the paparazzi's been even referred to as the pediarazzi.
Right.
And one example is, I think, a story that ran on the Daily Mail. I think it was. About Heidi Klum's daughter when she was getting picked up from gym class, and they called her a leggy beauty. I mean, she's 8. What do you think about them using that term for an 8-year-old?
Yeah, no, very inappropriate.
It's very
because you're drawing attention to her body, right? You're describing her physically, and that's very inappropriate for an 8-year-old. So like you said, we live in a world that's a bit, you know, it's kind of dodgy, and so what are you, I mean, whose attention are you drawing to her by describing her that way? Exactly. You know what I mean?
Also, I think it's a lot of pressure for a child. Like, maybe you can shelter her for a little while, but she will start to hear these comments and read about herself. And I just think it's a lot of pressure. Like, remember when Tom Cruise's daughter had, I think, high heels at a really young age, and it was a big thing. I just think that if they start hearing that, like leggy blonde, and then her mum is like some supermodel, that could lead her to all sorts of things. Like, I've got to be a certain weight, a certain height. You know, this is what is acceptable. Oh, she's leggy today, but maybe tomorrow they'll think, oh, she's that fat, chubby kid.
Yeah, what happened to the leggy beauty?
Or even teach her sorry, I know we have to go to break, but it's going to teach her to kind of value herself in that way.
Right.
So she's going to think that's what's valuable.
Exactly.
That's a really good point, and I'm hoping that after the break we can continue with this, because it's quite a meaty topic.
What images would you censor from children that are currently in the media?
I believe you should censor things like violence, things that little kids, or shall I say, you know, children aren't ready for, if that makes sense.
Anything overly sexual, anything that makes children, especially little girls, feel that they have to be sexy to be liked, they have to you know, show lots of flesh. I'm very much against that sort of thing. I think children should be left to be children and worry about all that stuff when they get to my age.
Scenes where there's knife and gun crime and explosives, I think even in films and even just, you know, widespread images of basically these images that are actually teaching children how to use guns and different forms of weaponry. I think, you know, I just think it really plants ideas and also it's an enabling function in a way,
I think definitely when you get these images that you do of recently with regards to maybe refugee children or just refugees in general, where it portrays violence, I think things like that, to be honest, I think they should be censored from not just children, from everyone, because the issue is it desensitizes violence, and then, you know, what happens is we lose the empathy that we should have because you see it all the time, and then it doesn't become as much of a big deal as it should be.
I would definitely say anything that's overly pornographic. So certain advertisements, especially perfume adverts, they can be highly sexualized, so they're very like hypersexualized in the media, especially regarding women. There's a lot of you know, women are objectified in a lot of kind of perfume adverts. Not really as much with fashion. I mainly see it with perfume. So I'd say overly pornographic imagery.
This programme is brought to you by UCKG.
Fish are on the daily menu of a large number of people, especially those on a diet. This is no coincidence. Fish are so rich in nutrients that the World Health Organization recommends eating them between 2 and 4 times a week. They are excellent sources of proteins, minerals, calcium, iron, iodine, selenium, zinc and vitamins A, B, D and E. Beyond the famous omega-3 that has anti-inflammatory properties and reduces blood cholesterol. Some people believe that eating fish is good for the memory. Myth or truth? True. According to nutritionists, fish has potassium hydroxide that promotes brain activity, develops cells, and consequently improves our memory. But beware that canned fish has a greater quantity of sodium, so try and find the healthier version.
This programme is brought to you by UCKG.
Hi there and welcome back. Before the break, we were discussing celebrity children, on letting children be children. But it's actually not just celebrity children that are affected by all of this. A recent survey of 1,000 15 to 19-year-old girls found that 63% considered glamour model their ideal profession. That is shocking.
Yeah.
1/4 said that they thought that lap dancing would be a good profession. Only 4% would choose teaching.
Wow.
66% of young people learn about sex and relationships through the media, which I don't think that's a positive thing. A study of 458 young adolescents showed that while girls were less accepting of sexual harassment than boys, exposure to music videos reduced their resistance. For both boys and girls, frequent TV viewing and exposure to pornographic material led to greater acceptance of sexual harassment. 58% of 12 to 15-year-olds have seen pornography on the internet. Between 1/4 and 1/3 of 9 to 16-year-olds had accidentally seen violent, offensive, sexual or pornographic content in the previous year. That is a lot of facts there, and there's a lot that I want to talk about. But what do you think can be done to protect children from these corrupted, images and being corrupted by the media and what they see?
I mean, it's very difficult to protect them because the internet is so invasive. You really can't. You can try and monitor what happens in your home, but they still go to the school, and even though they may not have internet access on their own phone, but who's to say that a friend doesn't have, and a friend will not share what they're looking at? So I think protecting them would be helping them to process what's out there. Like making them understand dangers of what they're going to see, what they have seen, if they have seen it, because from what we see, it starts as young as 9-year-old, right? At 9-year-old, they've already been exposed to porn, and that for me is very shocking. I remember I think I was 17, and a friend had a magazine. And then I kind of passed by, and then he was looking at it, and I actually screamed. At 17, I was like, "Wow, why is that? Get that out of my face!" I ran away. I was so innocent. So now imagine having to deal with that at 9 years old, and I don't know. I just think now. Parents need to teach children and prepare them for seeing this material, making them understand what that is, that it's not healthy. Unfortunately, for me, that's the only way I can think of.
I don't know.
Protecting the
when
kids.
You're on the bus and you listen to these kids and the way that they speak and their maturity and the words that they use and the in-depth sexual explicit things that they talk about, it is absolutely shocking.
It is shocking.
I think it has to be like an education, I think parents have to educate children that there's no more I'll turn a blind eye to it. Or, I don't think they know about it. Like, you have to know these facts if you're a parent and then just address it. I think open communication is the only way, because, children will see it. Like, just like Motti was saying, there's Wi-Fi everywhere now. So even if you say, oh, I'll protect my children at home or whatever, who's to say? They have a phone and they just go to a hotspot. It's so easy to access this. And I think you need to educate yourself about this and to say to your children, have open communication and say, this is what, because if you're learning it from the media, it doesn't mean that it's right. It probably won't be right.
No,
so their view of it all is it's so distorted. And what I found sad was that it's music videos, you know, that is making them feel like this behaviour is okay. So I can take what I see on TV and, you know, do that in the playground.
Yeah. Not only that, sex sells, doesn't it? So,
sells.
I mean, even a tub of ice cream, you know, you sit down and you think, well, how? Where's the sex coming into that? Do you get what I mean?
Like they'll lick it in a provocative way. I mean, for me, to be honest with you, this is a very sore point for me, maybe because I'm a mother now. But I do recognise that parents have a tougher job and they just need to make the effort because basically it's like what you said, you can try and hide, you know, put on those things at bars and things on the internet and all that at home, but then your children are with other children at school and they could be watching on their phone and showing it to them and everybody's watching, everyone thinks it's normal. And so it's your job as a parent, I guess, to try and educate them and to show them that okay, that is out there, but it's not, it doesn't mean that it's right. It's not the right thing, even though it's out there and people are accepting of it. You've got to kind of teach them that from young. That
you have to push that message.
You really have to push that message through.
And parents shouldn't underestimate the weight of their voice in their children's life. So kind of like, I mean, you see, for example, children who were a bit resistant to sexual harassment, and then they get exposed to seeing, you know, these music videos and these images, and so it sort of desensitizes them. And so parents' words can do the opposite. It can help build their resistance and keep it up. So, for example, when I think you should become a friend to your child and be involved in the activities that they do. For example, if they are watching TV, don't just leave them there. Oh, my time to relax while she's there watching TV. Take that time, sit there, watch it with her, and kind of go through what you see. Oh gosh, you know, look at that lady. She's so beautiful, but it's so unfortunate that she puts so much value on her body when she's got so much more to offer. You shouldn't be like that, and that could be enough.
I agree, and I also think that we shouldn't underestimate as children, as parents. Sometimes our children at a very young age, they're singing songs and we think it's cute and we think it's cool. But then the nature of the song they're singing and the dance that they're doing, we're like, oh, that's so fun, it's entertaining. But actually, no, they're picking up that behaviour from very young. And it's already influencing them at that young age, no matter how cute it seems. It's actually quite damaging. But I'd also like to say that for me, I have a big issue with the kind of things that are coming out there these days, especially when there are celebrities doing it who are mothers themselves. It's a real, as I say, it's a real sore point for me. I know I'm especially opinionated on this show and I'm the main, and I shouldn't be, but I do have an opinion on this.
No, you have
to. Something that really stood out for me actually a few years ago was when a song came out by a very famous female singer who a lot of people adore. And she made a song, and the lyrics of it was saying, oh, you can watch me on your video phone. And I thought, I could just imagine young girls now, you know, feeling that it's okay to video themselves and send it to boys because they can watch them on their video phone. So it made it like a normal thing to be able to do. And I just thought, I actually thought of this celebrity, that is really selfish of you and you're not even considering all the young girls that are going to be taking in this message and doing inappropriate things because you have sang this song like it's normal. I just wanted to put that out there.
The flip side as well, because some parents, this is going to be a massive challenge for them, because if you're going back, if your mum or dad was very uncomfortable with the whole idea of sex and talking to you about it, a lot of the time we pass that on. So it's like we don't want to talk about it and don't want to educate our children because it's just embarrassing. And I think for parents, that's another challenge, because if they were used to not talking about it, they're going to do exactly the same with their children. But I think now we're at a point where it's like, if you don't talk about it, you're going to be damaging children, or with this whole sex education in schools, someone else is going to teach your children. So you kind of have to think, do you know what, do I want someone else teaching my children, or do I just want to put my culture aside, my background aside, what I know aside, and say, you know what, I'm going to be the one to teach them in the right way? Because a lot of parents don't want to address it because they just feel like, oh, this is just,
But
I don't know how to.
You're forgetting about the parents that actually teach their children that sexual explicit behaviour as well.
Yeah, that's
Do you get what I mean?
Right.
There's so many parents out there that actually teach them how to be, you know, sexual, how to teach them how to dance, you know.
By
they
example,
think,
you mean?
by example, you know, and that filters along into the schools, into an innocent child that their mother's trying to bring them up in the right way, you know?
Yeah, because they say, do what I say, not what I do, but children...
They will do what you do, and that's the truth. They'll do what they see.
Right,
And that's the truth.
Yeah.
Well, we're going to go to a short break now, but before we do, our Kim and her children went to enjoy being children at go-karting at Capital Karts.
I'm here with my lovely children to try go-karting. Sometimes you just have to be with your children and run free. Children, are you excited? Yeah! Hi, I'm here with Jack from Capital Karts. I've got a few questions for him. Jack, what inspired Capital Karts?
That's a good question. What inspired Capital Karts? We've got a couple of directors who are very massive motorsport fans. They love watching it, love getting involved with motorsport. There was a gap in the market in this sort of area, and they really wanted to open up a premier karting venue inside London, so somewhere that's easily accessible for people to come. We're right on the A13, 15 minutes from Canary Wharf. Tube line's very close, and yeah, they've achieved their goal and they're living the dream.
I agree. Who is go-karting suitable for?
I mean, any age, any shape or size, anyone can come and do karting. It really is a very accessible sport. You can start from young, obviously kids enjoy it, but even the adults get competitive here as well. So yeah, anyone can come down.
Why is go-karting suitable for children?
Well, it's their chance to get behind the wheel of something, isn't it? They're obviously kids have a lot of energy. They want to get rid of that energy somehow, especially in weather like this in the summer. I mean, they obviously watch motorsport on TV and things like that, and they want to enjoy something like that. But their only chance to really drive a car, I suppose, is 16, 17 upwards. So this gives kids that opportunity to get behind the wheel of something, drive, and of course they love competition as well, don't they? So as soon as they bring all their friends down, they obviously want to beat everyone, and they start getting very competitive. And this is the perfect environment for them to do that.
It's often hard to find activities for you and your teenage children to enjoy, but sometimes it's just fun for children to be children and me to be me.
This programme is brought to you by UCKG. This programme is brought to you by UCKG.
Welcome back, and on today's show, Letting Children Be Children, we've been discussing the messages sent to children through the media. Here's a clip from a Children's Society video.
Go on. Go on. Go on. Yes! Still got it, son.
Emily, come on!
First steps. New teddy, it's as big as me. Tall enough to ride the roller coaster. Got my first phone, yay! I met a nice person down the high street. I think I'm in love. Met their friends. They drink a lot. I don't like where they touch me. Mock exam time, I can't think. I said no again, but it never stops him. 15th birthday, told Mum I don't want to party. They're outside again, right now. I feel sick.
Joining us in the studio is Leonie Gasper, an intensive support worker from the Children's Society. Hi, Leonie.
Hello. Hi. Hi, welcome.
And I'd like to ask you, what are the signs that a child is being sexually exploited?
So children may show signs of being sexually exploited in different ways. Quite often, the child may become more secretive, so they don't tell their parents or their carers where they're going or who they're with. Quite often they'll go missing from home, so that maybe they're coming home late, a few hours late from past their curfew, or they're going missing overnight for one night or a number of nights. And while they're being missing, they're being sexually abused. Mm-hmm. Quite often, children will become low in mood. They may become isolated from their friends and family. Mm-hmm. They may come home with gifts that parents don't know where they're coming from, so money, new clothes, phones, all the way of these sexual predators being able to control the child.
Right. Why do you think that it so often goes unnoticed, though?
I think with the recent media attention of child sexual exploitation, the public are becoming more aware of the issue. Mm-hmm. But at the Children's Society, we think it's really important that people are aware that child sexual exploitation can happen to boys and girls, and it can happen in different forms. So, for example, in the media, it's been a lot of gang-related child sexual exploitation, but children can be exploited via online, being groomed online. They can be exploited by one person and not a gang. And there's been more often that young people are being involved in recruiting other young people to be exploited.
You spoke about online. I mean, we've got so many gadgets now that kids can have, you know, computers, iPhones, etc., etc. How do you protect your children from like online paedophiles, whatever, you know, to give them that safety net?
Yeah, I think it's really important that parents have that discussion with the child and they have a space that the child knows that they can talk to the parents about any problem. So they talk to the children about the dangers of sharing personal information online and outside in the real world. And they talk to the child about people pretending online that they can be whoever they want to be. So we always advise parents that they let the child talk to them, that they listen to the child and reassure the child that they care for them and are there to protect them.
I'm sorry to cut you all, but I saw a clip on Facebook where they did a little survey. They had the parents involved and they had a guy that was pretending to be of a certain age. And the parents were saying, my child will never let you in. I saw that. Did you see that? My child will never let you into the house. And it was about 4 different parents, and every single one of those children, even though their mothers thought they knew them, did it completely the opposite of what they thought they would do. So if it was a paedophile or a rapist, they would have been in trouble. Yeah, they would have been in trouble.
Yeah.
How?
I mean, I think I saw the clip. They arranged meetings.
That's correct.
And the children actually showed up to those locations.
And it was heartbreaking for the parents. It was heartbreaking because they were like, my child's not going to come. Just not going to. They're more sensible than that, and they did.
So I mean, I know you're saying the parents should speak to them, but what other precautions do you think that we can use?
I think it's important that parents have that discussion with the child. They go with the phone through the phone and look at apps, which can be quite difficult for teenagers, like hard, but they educate themselves about the internet and they put the certain settings in. But also we all have a responsibility, schools, members of the public, us at the Children's Society will work with young people on a one-to-one basis and we'll talk to them about the dangers of online grooming and grooming on the outside world. So giving them that opportunity to talk to people, but also being aware that people care for them.
And now thinking of children who have unfortunately gone through sexual exploitation, it may be difficult for them to come forward. So what advice would we give to children who have been exploited? What encouragement can we give to them and an incentive for them to come forward and speak about what happened to them?
At the Children's Society, we work with children that are sexually abused, and we'll always say to them that we're here as an independent person that really care about you. We're here to listen, not to judge you. Quite often these sexual predators are really good at making the young people feel rubbish, making them feel they're to blame. So it's about re-educating the young person and making them believe and understand that they're not to blame. You can't consent to abuse, and just really stressing that.
I can't imagine doing your job because I'd probably be like crying every day because I think it's really tough. And I'm just thinking to myself, like, what age? Because I've got like nieces and nephews, and I just think they're so young at the moment. And of course we watch over them and we, and so on. But I'm just thinking, what age can you start to really speak to them about this sort of stuff? Because on the other side, I'm just thinking about parents. You kind of don't want to teach your children about something that they may not have been exposed to if they're too young. So I don't know if you know the answer to this question, but when is too young, or to start speaking about these sorts of things, or to start saying, look after yourself and don't... I don't know, because it seems really difficult. Sometimes you look at these children and you think, oh, but they're so young, they don't know anything about sex. Maybe we could be wrong. What would be your advice?
It's that little secret, that's our secret. You can't tell anybody our secret. So,
it's so difficult because sometimes you just think they're so young, so I don't want to be the person to
actually expose them to that now. To something that they had no idea about.
And they maybe not even, they might not know about it at all.
Yeah. I think it's important from as early as possible that you talk to your children about equality and about being able to say no and about love and respect. And you think about them core values and the children are understanding a healthy relationship. And hopefully as they grow older, they can understand more when they've seen signs of someone where things are unhealthy. So I think as early as possible having that talk with your child, making them realise that you're there for them. But also there's people out there that might not be there. If you think about when you was in primary school, you did the stranger danger stuff, having all them elements to help better protect children.
Right.
Yeah, I think I quite agree with you, because I think you have to, it's better for you to take that control into your hands. It's better to be you who exposes it to them, because you're going to do it in a safe environment and you're going to do it with, you're going to be wise about it, than have other people or other sources expose them to something that you're not even there to witness. Exactly. So in that case, parents who sort of take that on board and they decide, you know what, I want to be the one to educate my child. What advice would you give them in order to help them navigate through that difficult task?
We say to adults to talk to children, make sure that they know that they're there for them. Make sure they explain to them that they care for them. Talk to them about online grooming. Explain to children, quite often at the Children's Society when we work with children, we do internet safety with them, and they don't understand that once they put something online or they send a picture to someone, then it's out of their control. So as parents, having that discussion with the child about the dangers of online grooming and what happens online when you put a picture online, so having them conversations.
Do you think you almost need to kind of really make it kind of a child-friendly kind of conversation? For example, if you're talking about, because you don't want to say, look, at the end of the day, you know, if anyone touches you down there, but you might need to kind of say, like, that's your secret place. If anyone goes near your secret place, you have to tell me. That kind of thing, like try and make it something where the children are not feeling like, oh, this is like dodgy and going to go and, you know, but they know that, okay, it is this area of my body is private to me and nobody should be going there. That's just an example of one of the things. But I mean, I guess would it be kind of conversations along those lines?
I mean,
I'm just thinking about for the future for myself when I've got to talk to my child.
And just on top of her question, do you think scaring children is the right way?
That's the thing, because you don't want to scare them. That's the thing, really.
Because I'm just thinking about what you're saying. You're trying to put, no one touch your vegetable or whatever.
Yeah.
It's kind of like,
trying to make it the child, you know.
Yeah, but should like scare, like that stranger could take you and I'll never see you again, and like, would that work, or is that just more damaging?
I think the best way is to just educate and give the facts, really. And I think it's not just about talking to them, but also listening to them and letting your child know that you're there to talk to and to be listened to, and that you do care for them. So not just giving them safety advice, but knowing that they can approach you if they've got a problem. And also, you don't have to direct things straight at them. You know, we have quite a lot of soap stories. When I work with children, they say, oh, a certain soap's having this story. Discuss that with your child. There's a lot of things that are going on in the media that you can address it with your children in that way as well.
No, you can, like we're talking about educating the children, but what about educating the parents to seeing that difference in that child's change? You know, like something's happened to them and they change, and a mother might think, oh, they're just going through a phase or something. How do they catch that? Do you know what I mean? How would they catch that? That's the word.
Yeah, I mean, it can be quite tricky, but we'd say that usually when children are being sexually abused, there is a big change in kind of their behaviour and how they're being. So they'll be more withdrawn, they may be going missing from home, and they may be coming back with bruises, they're coming back with gifts. So we advise parents to discuss with the child, tell them that they're concerned, but also talk to other professionals. You know, professionals such as myself at the Children's Society will talk to children, and we're independent, and that really works in building that relationship with them.
Can I just ask, so how does the Children's Society actually work? Like, how do people know about you? How do you get yourselves out there? Do you go into schools? Do you, I mean, I don't see any adverts on the TV. What sort of things? Well, how do you really get people to know that you are there?
Right. Yeah, so we work in a variety of different settings. So part of my role is I'll go into schools and I'll do awareness raising around the dangers of going missing from home. Because quite often we find that when people go missing, when children go missing from home, that risk of child sexual exploitation. And quite often that can be because they go missing to places that we call hotspots, where these sexual predators will target the young people and groom them. And then once they're being exploited, they're more likely to be going missing from home. So we'll do awareness raising. But also when a child returns home from going missing, usually we'll get notified by the police, and then we'll go and see them and offer them what we call a return interview.
So these children who are going missing, are they children who are running away from home? What is making them like go missing? What is the reason for them to go missing most of the time from I guess from the children that you've worked with and from the work that you've done?
We find that children go missing for a variety of reasons. So some of them may live with family, some people may live with carers, in foster placements or residential. So we work with children all under the age of 18, different ages, different reasons. So problems at home, quite a frequent thing, but also bullying. Or maybe being involved in drugs or alcohol, child sexual exploitation, a new partner. So it's different things. And what we do at the Children's Society, we'll give them the opportunity to talk to us about why they're going missing. And we'll also do stuff like a safety plan, because we know that it is normal for children to want to go out with their friends, but we want to make sure they make safe choices. So we'll kind of talk to them about telling the parents or carers where they're going, letting the parents know if they're going to be late, making sure they charge the phone, because quite often when children are missing, we can't get in touch with them because the phone's battery's died. So just giving them advice and letting them aware of support available in the day and out of hours to kind of better protect them.
Okay. Leonie, how old are the children that are at risk?
We say at the Children's Society that all children at risk of this horrific sexual abuse. At the moment, the Children's Society are really lobbying for more protection for 16 to 17-year-olds, Currently, they don't have the same level of protection from the police as younger children. Right. So we have our campaign, Seriously Awkward, which we recommend that you check it out on our website, which is www.childrensociety.org.uk.
Thank you so much, Leonie. That has been really helpful.
Yeah. Thank you very much.
We're going to take a short break now, but do stay with us because we'll be back with more on the topic of letting children be children.
This programme is brought to you by UCKG.
Are you having a good time?
European stars deliver rousing performances.
One thing was leading to the next.
Sitting at the same spot when you get home. I'm scanning all my radars. Well, she sits just from a quasar.
Live concerts every weekend. Saturday, Europe in concert. Little things can have a huge impact. Throughout the world, The Globalization Magazine. Saturday, Global 3000.
This programme is brought to you by UCKG.
Hi, welcome back to the show. And before the break, we were joined by Leonie Gaspar from the Children's Society, and she had some pretty useful information, especially about the campaign for 16 to 17-year-olds. So please do check out their website for more information on that. Now on to the last bit of our show, but I've got some interesting questions. But before that, in June 2011, the UK government did a study entitled Letting Children Be Children, which led to a pledge from high street stores to stop selling sexy underwear to children and a promise from Ofcom watchdog to tighten up on the use of sexual images before watershed. Now, ladies, I'd like to ask you, I mean, I know some of you are not mothers, but just all of you are not mothers, okay, but just imagine that you are. What age would you let your children, wear makeup and bras, etc.?
It's kind of very, bras, I think from the mommy, whenever they need them,
when they need the support,
whenever they need the support, I needed it quite early, unfortunately. Exactly. But with makeup and sexy underwear, I think we have to delay that as much as we can. We have to delay that as much as we can. But it shouldn't be that kind of delaying where you kind of deny your child. No, you can't. No, you can't. No, you can't. I think you have to hit home with the child, make them understand the dangers of it, and so that they are the ones who say no to themselves, not necessarily you having to say no. So I think parents, nowadays, parents cannot afford to parent the way that they used to parent in the past. In the past, parents used to be like authority figures. I say no because mommy says no, but we can't afford to parent that way now.
They need to understand more rather than just being no.
Exactly.
I'd like to actually touch on something with the bras thing, because I've just remembered my childhood. Sometimes also peer pressure can also make a child want to grow up before their time, because I remember when I was young and there were certain, I had a group of friends, and some of my friends were just a bit more well-endowed than I was at an early age, and they were wearing bras and they were having their period, and I just wanted to be that girl. And it's like I had my little bee stings, but I wanted to wear a bra because it's like my friends are wearing bras, I should wear a bra as well, because, they're like growing up and I want to. So sometimes there is the peer pressure, and again, that kind of makes more of a job, I guess, for parents, for schools, and for people in society in general, to make children feel that there is no rush. Be confident in where you are at that kind of stage. But I remember feeling like that as a child. And I remember I think my sister had her period before me and I just was like, the world has ended. I'm just, how can it be? She's younger than me. So children can also... Now looking back, I'm like, that was so ridiculous. But and if I had a daughter, because of what I'd gone through, I'd know to kind of make her feel like it's okay, it doesn't matter, it's not a big deal. But I think at the time, it was like, I think I'd gone crying about it and my mum was like, just get over yourself, stop being a baby.
I was the opposite. I had bee stings for the longest time and still really. And I wanted that bra, do you know what I mean? I wanted to wear it as well. But very late in life.
And that's the thing, because a bra is fine. It's the whole sort of wonder bra, padded bra, that's when I think it's like at the end of the day, my child.
What do they need that for?
Yeah, you don't need to be propping yourself up in maths class. Do you know what I mean? You just need, and that's the thing. It's like, what I'm thinking though is, even yesterday I was out and about and I did see some school kids coming back, and their skirts were so short. And when they get home, they're probably like going to pull it down. But when they're out and about with their friends, their skirts are really short. And I just feel that as parents, there is a level of it that you just have to trust your children and that you can educate them and reassure them about themselves. Because I know that with my mum, there were certain things that I was exposed to that even up to now she doesn't know. But there were, like, for example, smoking. I never did that because my mum, she made me realise that smoking is not going to be good for my health. So she wasn't like, don't do that, you're not allowed. She just said, you know what, people die from cancer. Is that really what you want? Do you want your hands smelling? Do you want the... And when she kind of sold it to me like that, I thought, well, actually, it's not that fun, actually. So when my friends would do it, I just thought, I don't want to. And I think when you've got certain values that are built in, sometimes you will take the wrong road, sometimes you will make the wrong decision, but deep down, hopefully it won't lead you into too much danger because you'll have that voice echoing in your mind, because parents can't be there all the time. And they, like, for example, when your friends are doing something and you really want to be sexy and you really want to be nice, like, your parents can say to you, don't do that, don't. But the truth is, when they're not there, the child's just going to go and do it. So the only thing we can do is reassure them and to help them to know their value and educate them and just trust that they'll make the good decisions.
And help them come to those good decisions, right? Help them make those good decisions in their mind, understand that why those decisions are good.
Before we actually conclude, I'd like to quickly ask you, what do you think are the positives and negatives, though, of sheltering children?
Sheltering them is exactly what we talked about. You're not teaching them to think for themselves. So when you're sheltering, you're doing the thinking for them. You're not taking them through that thinking process, so they can't protect themselves. They rely on you to protect them. So I think parents cannot shelter children, but they have to teach them to be responsible. And this is a lot that we're asking of parents, because we have working parents now, and it takes it takes time to have to sit there and have the conversation. But that's what parents need to put in their heads. We live in a world where you as a parent cannot afford to be too tired to have those kind of conversations with your child, because it may be detrimental to your child. So
I think they say it takes a village to raise a child. I did some of my schooling in the Caribbean, and I remember it didn't matter what age you were. Throughout secondary school, you were not allowed to dye your hair. You weren't allowed to wear makeup. Your skirt had to be a certain length, and all the teachers would monitor us. And then they would tell your parents if you did the opposite. So when I came back to here, and I thought, oh my goodness, kids are like dyeing their hair. For me, it was weird because I'd grown up in that, and children had accepted that. So I feel like parents also should try to work with those who surround them, like the teachers, be involved with the teachers, communicate openly with their teachers, and whoever surrounds them, if it's a community group. I just don't feel that you can do it alone, just you and your child.
I agree.
I want to just ask you quickly a really important question. Do you think that advertisers that are targeting children are selling the right values? Think about products and...
No, not at all.
Definitely not.
Why do you say
Well, there's a yogurt advert, and I really like the yogurt, and it's all about, licking the lips and, ooh, tasty. And that's before
like
Watershed.
Sex sells, isn't it?
And it's just like, why do you have to eat your yogurt like that, Because I just thought this is about yogurt, and then I saw this other advert. Was it about milk or something? And then the guy was half naked. But it's about milk, and I just... You're right, sex does sell, but children are seeing these billboards. Sometimes they are before Watershed, and you're like, oh, but it's not pornography. pornography or it's not too, but they are very suggestive, you know, and then someone does that at school and it's like a boy could get the wrong idea and it could lead them down the wrong path.
I mean, that statement is a statement in itself. Sex sells. So why does it sell? Because it's very influential and it influences adults. I think people who are buyers, consumers are adults mostly. So if it's that powerful of a message to an adult, imagine to a kid. So yeah, I don't think advertisers are worried about values. They're worried about
making money,
selling their products, making their products be sold. So yeah, the values is up to parents and we as individuals, right?
And all the celebrities that are endorsing a lot of these products don't have that many values, in my opinion, anyway.
Yeah. Well, ladies, before we wrap up, any final words of wisdom for our viewers?
I was like, who's going to
don't all rush forward at once.
I do, actually. I do. And you know what? From today's show, even when we had Leonie on the show, I think the message that's coming through the most for me is that parents need to be involved in the education of their children. I think I've said it so often in this show that has to be something that I conclude with. It is the responsibility of parents. We cannot run away. For example, Melissa was saying about, you know, having the touching your veggie. We don't live in a world where we can afford to have those subtle conversations anymore. And I think the mindset of parents need to change. You can't view the world as it was when you were a child. You need to understand that your world, the world that you live in now, the world that your child is growing up now, is different from the world where you grew up. And you need to take that into consideration and start acting to combat that and to help you, to prepare your children to deal with the world that they live in currently, not your world. You see what I mean?
So true. I think the only thing I would say as someone who's not a mother is if you do decide to have children, you have to plan for children and make sure that you're ready to take on the responsibilities and everything, because from what I've learned from this show is that it's a really, really, really hard job. And also I've taken away something for myself, that as someone who's surrounded by children, my nieces and nephews, I am also going to help their parents to safeguard them, because that's something that we can do in our communities. You know, we can look out for other children, and if we start to do that, then hopefully we can make our environments a safer place.
Yeah, I agree with Gemma. I think it's all of our responsibility. I don't think it's just the parents' responsibility, it's the auntie's responsibility, it's that friend's responsibility, it's that teacher's responsibility as well, you know. If we all get responsible and if we realise how much they do actually know, then we would be much more educated to actually deal with the situation.
I definitely 100% agree with everything that you guys have said, and I would say that, whether you're a parent or not, whether you're a mother or not, as an adult, I think you should never underestimate the power that you have or the influence that you have, because once you're an adult around children, you are an influential person. You do have influence on that person just because of the fact that you're an adult, you're older than them. You will be somebody that they look up to, and I think we can't underestimate that. For me, working with children now, in what I do, I hear a lot of their conversations, and you know, a lot of the things that they care about or they want come from, you know, what is being said around them, what is being done, what they're seeing in the media, and a lot of the time also from what their parents do and say. And you know, it's shocking some of the things that come out from, okay, what my mum does at home or what my dad does, and you know, that is what molds them and molds what they care about and what their opinions are. And something actually that I'm trying to do now within what I do is try and focus on more of the things that will help them to develop into adults that become, you know, people who will contribute to society. So, you know, trying to focus on the things that are like that bring out self-confidence, self-belief, the importance of teamwork, the importance of caring, of sharing, because I see that a lot of that is lacking in society. There's a lot of kind of materialism and I want a boyfriend and I want to look good. That's what the media tends to focus on. So I think it's really our job as adults to try and instill those kinds of qualities, because those are the things that are going to make them upstanding people in society. So I would say, that just never underestimate the influence that you have in your words and in what you do. And I can give my own personal example that even growing up myself, I wasn't perfect. I made a lot of mistakes, but no matter how off the rails I went, one thing my mother taught me never to do was to just give myself to any guy and to get, into kind of sexual activity. And so no matter how much I did, with, my other rebellious things, that was one thing that I would just never do because she instilled those morals in me. And so we have to be, we do have a tough job, as you've said, Gemma. It's a lot tougher now, but you have to know that what you put in, you will get out in that child. That what you put into a child, they're not going to forget it. They might grow up and make mistakes here and there, but they will remember the things that you have instilled in them as a person of influence. And that is for the aunties, for the mums, for the teachers, for all of us who are around children. So that is my final words for today. Just don't underestimate your influence. Right, well, we've told you our opinion, and we'd definitely like to hear your thoughts. And if you have any thoughts or comments, please do share those with us on Twitter or on Facebook, or by emailing us on comments@dkw.me or help@dkw.me. I've really enjoyed today's show. I've learned so much myself. A lot I've got to put into practice as a mum as well.
We'll support you.
Thank you. I hope
We're here to help educate.
Well, join us next week for another fabulous show, and until then, it's goodbye.
This programme is brought to you by UCKG.